Hi, welcome to my workshop, which is a sentiment I couldn't have expressed last time I put a video up on my YouTube channel, which was some time ago now, but at that time I didn't have a workshop. I suppose that's the elephant in the room. I haven't uploaded for ages, so let's address that first. I actually had some nice comments from people on previous videos basically saying, oh, see, you haven't uploaded a video for a while, I hope you're okay. So if any of those people are watching, thank you for that. Your concerns were unfounded. I haven't particularly suffered any misfortune or anything. I've just been really busy with work. I've started studying for a master's on top of a full-time job, which not really an experience I'd recommend, but I'm told will be career enhancing and worthwhile in the end. And yeah, I just haven't found the time to do it. And I'm now hopefully going to get back into it. But you know, the internet's not known for its kind of milk of human kindness or people being pleasant to one another. So if you're one of the people that felt compelled to wish me well on that note, then thank you very much. I appreciate that. It says something nice about you that you felt kind of the urge to do that. Now, I had started filming this build of the workshop, and that's another thing that has taken up a big chunk of time since you last saw me, is building this biggest project of its kind that I've ever undertaken so far. And I started filming it with the intention of doing a whole series of videos on it, but I had a few technical issues with the equipment I was using to make videos at the time, and having missed filming some of the process, I thought, oh, you know what, I've missed a bit of the story now. I kind of got discouraged and I didn't continue with it. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pull together a little bit of a sort of highlight reel of some of the bits of this that I did capture and put together just the one video on building the workshop, and you'll get some idea of what went on. So here's me back then talking about why building a workshop would be better than having the shed that was there. Obviously it's larger, it's more secure, it's weather tight, it's better insulated, it's better lit, I've got more sockets in there, will hopefully last longer. The me of today is older, wiser, more experienced, dare I say it, more roguishly handsome than the me of back then, and crucially has a better microphone. So I'm going to voice over lots of this. First thing I did other than emptying all the junk out the shed was disconnect the electricity and just check that it was off, and then start demolishing it. Now it's strange looking back on this because I'd just recovered from COVID at this point. I didn't catch it for the 2 years plus that it was at the height of its popularity, shall we say, around the world. I managed to avoid it and then caught it when it was declining again. So either I got a bit careless in my precautions or I got a particularly persistent strain. But the cold and flu kind of symptoms had gone by this stage, but I was still feeling really tired. And looking at this, I can see myself sort of struggling with things, struggling to tear the tar off the roof, and by the time I get to pulling up these floorboards at the end of the day, I was knackered, and it's all much more hard work than it should have been. I made a full recovery, no problems there, so you know, it's fine. But spare a thought for the people suffering from long COVID, as they call it. I know a guy who in 2025 is still suffering kind of chronic fatigue type symptoms from having caught it well before I ever did. And I know some people are sceptical about that. They think it's work shy people wanting benefits or something. This friend of mine was a skiing instructor before COVID happened, and you know, his job evolved around a sport which he loves. He used to spend 6 months of the year in France in the Alps meeting a series of interesting young ladies who either wanted to learn to ski or who were fellow skiing instructors at one big party season. There's no way he would have voluntarily given that up to go and live in his parents' house because he can't afford to rent anymore. So really unfortunate, and he's not a work shy kind of guy. So just spare a thought for those people, I guess, is what makes me think of. I have found one strange thing, which is this hole at the back of the garage. It's clearly intentional, it's not damage. It was hidden by the shed. I don't know what that is for. Maybe there was an air vent meant to go in there. Answers on a postcard please, as they used to say, or if you've got any idea what that was done for, then maybe put it in the comments below, as I'd really like to know why that's there. Now here's me explaining the first missed bit of footage, which was the digging of the footings and placing of the concrete. thought that was entirely my fault at the time. Now, I'm lucky enough to have been given a free window to go in the workshop. This one here, it's an old wooden window. It needs cleaning up and sanding down, and then I'm going to paint it to match the existing one on the garage. It is double glazed, but it is quite old, so there's not much gap between the bits of glass. It's probably not going to be as energy efficient as a modern one. I may change it in future for something which is a bit better insulated, but for now it will do, and as it was free, that counts for quite a lot. Now, I've also been given this pair of doors, which is great. Again, saved me a lot of money over buying a door or a pair of doors. And although each one is narrower than a normal personnel door, together they'll be a little bit wider, which is nice for a workshop. I'll be able to get sheet materials and machines and things in and out easily. These are actually sort of new old stock, so they're fairly old doors, but they've never actually been used before. So they've still got the remains of the horns on the end. I need to cut them to length. I need to treat them for woodworm just in case, because there's a few signs, and then I've got to fit a lock and handle and hinges and everything. So a bit more work, but it saved me a lot of money, and they're pretty solid doors. They seem like quite good quality, so all good. I also need to glaze these openings. I looked at the cost of glass and I've looked at the cost of perspex, and I think I'm going to go with perspex. Just taking some of this off of one side so I can measure the opening properly, get that ordered, and then get on with the rest. So the concrete base that we laid last weekend has had nearly a full week to cure, and we can start putting the walls up. I'm going to actually start working on the window and the doors first of all, because my brother-in-law can be here today and he can keep the brickie supplied with mortar and bricks. He can't be here tomorrow, unfortunately, so I'll need to be mixing and barrowing up stuff then. We've got a long bank holiday weekend, so hopefully we can get quite a lot done. I need to crack on with the window and doors, because at this rate they'll have the building up and ready for them well before these are prepared. Now, this is one of those one-shot kind of things where I knew I had one chance to get this right, and if I cut the door too short I was going to have big problems, so I was very careful in measuring and marking these out. We were lucky with the weather, it was absolutely beautiful, and the irony of working on something to provide myself with an indoor workspace whilst enjoying all the birdsong and wildlife around wasn't lost on me. In the meantime, Doyle and Carl were starting on the walls and working at a heck of a pace, as you can see.
I do break the rules of men's shopping. I love shopping.
Yeah, you've always liked it though, haven't
Yeah, my missus, your sister hates it.
you? Yeah, bizarre, isn't it? I like, we're the opposite. You know, Sophie likes shopping, but shopping consists of a lot of trawling around looking at things, not buying them, wondering if they'll be cheaper in a different shop, and then maybe coming back to that first one later because she found cheaper, and I cannot stand it. I hate it. I go in,
get what you need,
get what I need, and get the heck out of town again.
Yeah, me and Beast obviously haven't done a lot lately, but
Was it more trouble than it was worth, was it?
I know, it's just a respect thing. I mean, at the time, his name is Paddy Carey, and he was about 8 foot wide on his shoulders. You know, like Mr. Incredible.
Oh, right.
He was a bit like that. And, people were absolutely terrified of him. Because he used to get a few whiskeys down his neck and that was it. He'd fight the pub. He didn't care. So, over the days.
Yeah.
So yeah, Paddy, I've been kicked on. Well done, boy. What you doing? Hit the foreman. Well done. Don't worry, I've got something on Monday. Be here, alright.
So we continued to be lucky with the weather over that bank holiday weekend. It's always tempting fate trying to do something on a bank holiday, isn't it? The words bank holiday seem to promote rain generally, but we were in luck there and we got a lot done, really quick progress. So after 2.5 days of bricklaying, we are basically there. Just add roof. Rear elevation, front elevation, both up to wall plate height. Gable end mainly filled in. Obviously we'll need a little bit more brickwork when the roof trusses are in. So that's that done. The roof trusses can't be done until next week because the timber isn't arriving until next week. But so far it's gone up really quickly. I'm really impressed. We had my brother-in-law with us for the first day, so he was able to do some of the labouring and keep Carl supplied with bricks and mortar and do some of the pointing and cleaning up and stuff. And then he couldn't be here yesterday or today, so I've been doing that. So in between I've got some work done on the doors, got them cut down size, given them a couple of coats of treatment which is meant to kill woodworm and repel other insects and rot and whatever. And the window frame is also painted, which I've done some of and then my wife has helped me out with. So that's all looking good. I've still got to make up the frame, fit the lock and hinges to the door, and also I think I'm going to put a sill on it as well because they're going to be used externally. So this was another one of those you've got one chance to do this right jobs, which I did take my time over. I think I'm right in saying that I've never actually fitted a door lock from scratch before. I've replaced existing ones a few times, but not fitted one to a new door. If I'm honest, I had a look on YouTube to some tips on how to do it, and you know, that's one of the great things about this platform, that you can find stuff like that. taking my time over it, and with a little bit of sort of fettling to get things to fit well. It wasn't really a problem, it all went okay. Quite pleased with how it turned out, to be honest. These doors are actually fairly heavy, so I went for the most robust hinges I could find. These are some stainless steel, I think they're fire door ones, they're certainly sort of fire rated hinges, and hopefully they'll stand the test of time. And then I painted it black. Now that might not be to some people's taste, but the main reason I did that was to match the existing personnel door on the garage, which is already black. And actually, again, I think as it's turned out, I'm quite happy with it. It does tend to show the dust kind of thing, just like having a black vehicle, but yeah, I think it looks quite smart in the end. Now once the timber was delivered, I was able to start making the roof trusses. And initially I was working awkwardly off the ground, as you see here, and at times just perching on the pile of wood. But once I'd got the first one made up and took it round to the workshop to check it, and I was happy that it was going to be okay, then I was able to set myself up with a better working process. So I cut the components for one truss, took them round to the workshop where I'd actually got space, laid them out on the floor and just checked that it all fitted and that the dimensions came up as I wanted and everything. And then once I was happy that I'd not messed that up, that one became my template for all the others. Then I was able to set up the saw using the outbuilding as a kind of stop block to make repeated cuts. Not something I've invented or thought of independently by any means, something that my dad taught me how to do. A really good idea nonetheless, and it meant I could just batch all the components out. It was way more efficient. I got all the trusses made in one evening after work. Now I didn't make these in the way I might have done if I'd had kind of free choice in the matter, but the design was constrained by the fact that I wanted the roof to match in with the existing garage roof and end up at the same height and everything. So our house, I believe, was built in the 1950s, but the garage was clearly a later addition, I think 1990s, and it's the typical kind of gang nail trusses that you saw at that time. Couldn't actually get any nail plates at this point. We were still seeing some disruption from the pandemic on supply chains at this point in time. I mean, arguably we still are now, certainly in pricing, but at that point it was very much the case. So I had to get these metal stretchers and then use screws, but I think they'll be plenty strong enough. Carl came back and actually helped put them on, which was the first test of the strength of them. Must admit I was very slightly nervous when he stepped on them the first time, but he was quietly impressed at the quality of them from an amateur like me, so I took that to be a big compliment. So then we got the membrane on and the battens and started tiling. I've used reclaimed tiles from a local reclamation yard, not least so that they'll weather quicker and fit in with the existing garage roof all the sooner.
But yeah, I'd measure. How many did I take off? I think I took 3 off.
Is there any round the side there?
Oh, there is.
I think there was.
Yeah, no, there is. I think there's 2.
So once we'd got that done, I set about putting the ridge tiles on whilst Carl was finishing off the gable end. By the time you're doing this, you really feel like you're making progress and you've nearly got a building. Well, I must admit I'm not a dedicated enough YouTuber to have filmed everything I've done, and I didn't film building the door frame and putting the doors in because I just wanted to get it done. And doing things, if that takes a certain amount of time, filming it and doing it takes 2 or 3 times as long. Besides which, viewers probably wouldn't have appreciated some of the language that job prompted from me on the Saturday. Spent a whole weekend doing that, trying to make that reclaimed oak door frame work. Just wasn't going to happen. So a lot of the previous effort was wasted. Eventually had to go to one of the big DIY sheds, which will remain unnamed, but you'll know the one I mean. It's orange, and had to buy some timber from there. And yeah, can't go to such a place without feeling I've been robbed. Also, just dealing with some of the staff in places like that who, on this occasion, were just sullen and clearly didn't want to do the job they're paid to do. Just winds me up. So yeah, that wasn't a great experience, but Sunday, with those new pieces of wood, got a new door frame built from scratch, got it fitted, everything's great, doors are working, I've had the level every which way but loose on the frame, and it's about as square and plumb and straight as I can get. The door's still a little bit ugly, but the doors themselves, it turns out, are kind of warped. I've just measured them to cut these weatherboards to go on the bottom and found they're not even quite the same width, so that explains quite a lot. So yeah, I spent a long time messing about with these oak door frame pieces. Trouble is, they didn't originally go with the doors. These have been used before. The doors haven't ever been used before, but they have been stored in suboptimal conditions for 30 odd years, hence I think that's why they're not quite true and straight. Spent ages messing around with that, made a bottom piece because I only had 3 sides. A lot of wasted effort in the end. Can't make it work, but I'm going to keep the wood for something else. I'm all for using reclaimed materials where I can, but like I say, I ended up going and buying some new stuff. Did it the easy way. Instead of routing the rebates, just panel pins, nailed on some battens and made the rebate that way. And it's working, so not too bad. Now, I've got a cunning plan for getting these weatherboards on the bottom. I made myself cardboard template out of a bit of old cereal packet so I could test what angle I wanted and how far that would allow the door to open. 20 degrees, which is sort of conventional anyway, seems to be about right. So I'm going to cut a 20 degree on each end of this, cut it to width, get it painted first because it would be really awkward to paint on the door whilst the door is hung already. And then I think what I'm going to try and do is use some super glue and activator to just temporarily hold it in place on the door whilst I drill my pilot holes and then screw it in position. So that's the plan. We'll see whether it works or not. Well, that super glue idea worked really well. I was able to temporarily fix these weatherboards on with that and use that so I could then drill and countersink some pilot holes from the back, screw them on from behind. Once I've filled over the screw heads and painted, then the fixings will be invisible. I've sealed round with some black sticks so hopefully any rain running down the surface of the door will then not get behind them and just run over as it should. Obviously I couldn't get a clamp in at the hinge side, so hence the super glue trick. It's worked out well. Since I last filmed a little update, I've also glazed the doors. It is actually plastic, but that was cheaper and should be more robust. So a great milestone reached. We've got basically a weather-tight building. So it had been a little bit stressful at points and I was frustrated by the pace of progress, doing this round work evenings and weekends. So I've got a load of paint, not ready for it yet, but it was on special offer. So I got it while I could. 10 double sockets and the back boxes, that's probably at least enough. We've got the cable and the consumer unit all ready to go. And I've borrowed Dad's big circular saw for cutting all the ply. Probably a bit overkill because that thing's a beast. It's like a 3-inch maximum depth of cut. But it's all good fun. So that brings us up to the point where the technology let me down and I stopped filming. So I didn't film any of the interior finishing of this, but I'll give you a little look around. With some help from my wife, what I did was paint the floor with some garage floor paint. It's meant to be really hard wearing stuff, but as you can see in high traffic areas it is actually wearing a bit. I'm a little bit disappointed by. Put rock wool, thermal and sound insulation in the walls and in the ceiling to try and make sure that it's going to be sensible temperature in here all year round, but also that I wasn't making too much noise and not going to disturb the neighbours too much. And then clad these with ply, and I cut out and put all the boxes, the back boxes for the sockets and switches and everything in, and ran all the cables, just had them, with the back box and a loop of cable sticking out. So I've got the circuit ready. A friend of mine who's a proper, fully trained and fully accredited electrician came around and wired it up for me. So he was able to do it properly, test it, give me a certificate for it. So if we ever sell the place, then there's no issues there. And I know it's nice and safe. And actually he put a new consumer unit in the garage, just the other side of that wall there. So actually building the workshop has made the whole thing safer, has made the garage safer as well, better protected. We painted it white because I wanted it to be nice and light in here, and I've put in these lights. I went for some LED strip lights. They're hopefully cheap to run and hopefully long lasting, and you can see it makes quite a difference, but there's 6,000 lumens of lighting in there. It's probably a bit harsh for your living room or something, but it's great for task lighting for a space like this. Obviously get some natural light from the window there. Now I went for plywood rather than for plasterboard, because I thought that if I catch the wall with the corner of a piece of wood or machine or something, it's going to dent less easily than plasterboard, and also I couldn't be bothered to skim it. I've done a little bit of plastering, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert. Put these French cleats up on the wall. Bit of a cliche maybe, everyone on YouTube who's got a workshop has got French cleats, but actually I think for a small workshop they are a pretty good solution because they're really nice and flexible, and I can change this round as much as I want. I've already altered things once or twice here and there and added things. I made myself a bench, which is totally cluttered, as you can see at the moment. And then I bought another bench, Sjoberg's one, which I did actually adapt, raise it up and make it heavier. But perhaps what I'll do is I'll do a bit of a workshop tour video. A tour implies a lot of movement. I mean, this is a small space, I can pretty much just stand in the middle of it and pan the camera around and show you everything. But yeah, perhaps I'll do that in another video. So I'm loving having a workshop. It's brilliant. I've wanted one for a long time. I grew up with Dad having his, obviously for his business. He was a carpenter and builder before he retired, but also for his hobby because he was a very skilled wood turner. And I just kind of assumed that, or hoped that someday I would have my own space like that. And it's taken a long time to get to a position where actually we've got the space and the time and the money to achieve it. Now that we have, I'm really enjoying it. It's a place I can come and make as much noise and mess as I like without upsetting anyone. I can leave projects partway through and not have to tidy everything away, leave all the tools out ready to just come back and crack on with it again, which is great because, you know, I'm a hobbyist. I'm doing this evenings and weekends and around other things. So just being able to make a mess and leave a mess for a while and not upset anyone is in itself a big kind of boon. Having said that, I do find myself actually vacuuming and tidying in here more than I would like. But yeah, having the ability to kind of pause work, leave it, come back to it, and that not being in the way, that's great. Of course, the other big thing is that I've got a weatherproof and more secure place to put machines and tools and things. So I've now got a decent table saw that the camera's stood on at the moment. I've got my planer thicknesser here. I've been able to use the belt and disc sander that my friend gave me and the little pillar drill which another friend gave me. Actually, you know, because I built a workshop, they said, oh, my dad's got this, he doesn't want it anymore, is it any use to you? Might not have occurred to them otherwise. So, you know, I've been able to upgrade my kit and it's opened a huge range of possibilities, new things I can try, new things I can make, new skills I can try and learn. That's all part of the point of it, and it's been great fun. So yeah, if you can do it, building yourself a workshop is definitely something I'd recommend. So I don't know that they'll ever watch this video, but I think it remains for me to say thank you to my brother-in-law Doyle, his friend Carl, the bricklayer, to my friends Mark and Wayne, the electrician, and a friend who's actually like a fitter, shop fitter and kitchen fitter, came and helped out with that as well, to my wife. Just all the people who've helped with this project. As I say, I wouldn't have been able to do it this way and I wouldn't have got such a satisfactory end result without their help, without their time and their generosity in terms of giving me access to trade prices on things through the business accounts, giving up their bank holiday weekends to help me actually physically build the thing. That's all very much appreciated. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video and taken something out of it. If you're thinking about building your own workshop, if this has kind of inspired you to get on and do it, then that'd be great, you know, and I wish you well with it. Hopefully I'll be doing a little bit more of the YouTube stuff now. I'm getting through the master's course. Hopefully should be free of it soon, or this year anyway, and work has calmed down slightly, and I'm really keen to get out here and make some noise and make some sawdust and hopefully some useful or interesting objects as well. So yeah, as I say, thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you again soon.